today, so we'll go until 2 o'clock today, and our special guest is Hans Paul Pizzini, to be more exact, the CEO and founder of Speed Legal, which is a company that uses AI in the contract review arena. So, Hans, thank you so much for joining us to provide us with an update. You've been a guest on our in our meeting before, and yeah, I'll turn it over to you. And for all of you in the group, if you have any updates or news to share, please use the chat function. And then once Paul opens up for Q&A, which is hopefully around 1:45 or 1:50 or so at the latest, then you can also unmute yourself to ask any questions. But yeah, feel free to use the chat function for that. All right, with that, over to you, Hans.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Perfect. Thank you, Roland and Megan, for the invite, and super nice to be here again and share a bit of my vision of the legal world for non-lawyers, being not a lawyer, using technology. I guess you can see my screen, so I made this a bit of provocative title for this conversation. Of course, as a company, we don't provide legal advice, but we like to call ourselves Grammarly for contracts. We are Speed Legal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO, Hans Paul, as Roland introduced me. We've been around for a couple of years now, since 2020-ish. Well, I was working on something similar on the blockchain before. It was not called Speed Legal, it was called with another name. So we were doing legal tech before it was cool, before LLMs. Of course, with different models, with deep learning and ER and other things. But yeah, so today I'm gonna show you also how we've built this new platform, fully automated without human in the loop, which gives you first line of contract review for some specific type of contracts. So the reason, first of all, I'm gonna tell you why we created Speed Legal and what motivates us to continue working on this company. So my background is finance and economics. I was working at big companies such as Amazon as a finance person on the legal team. So dealing with all the numerical parts such as allowances, payment terms, and many fees and percentage that I need to manually review basically. My parents are tax and legal consultants, so I found that not being a lawyer and having to deal with contracts, it was very, very painful. And I thought there was a better way. So I found that I was not the only one not being a lawyer and dealing with contracts. So I eventually found more and more confirmation and also motivation to continue building for this specific customer segment. We start actually with helping law firms, and then we pivoted a couple of times the company to real estate and in-house legal, and eventually now to business users. And the three pain points that we're solving are mostly time, money, and knowledge, of course. Legal professionals spend a couple of hours a day, depending of their position, 3 to 4, some of them. And sometimes we don't have the time to read line by line. We ask for legal advice, outside counsel, being an SMB or a founder, a solo founder. We don't have the money to afford such legal advice. So what we do? Well, we just sign because we want to close the deal, which is not the best solution. Well, nowadays we can use ChatGPT, we can use Google, which is great. But again, there are issues there, as we all know as well, hallucinations and potential. We still need to double check. So the vision for our company is to really help anyone to understand contracts terms and risks in a few minutes and seconds instead of hours. This is relevant because now technology has allowed us to move much faster and reduce the error. According to the American Bar Association, the error in applying a specific law to a contract is about 11.3%. With machine learning and other models, we can get better. And of course, legal jargon and all the contract must-haves are not something that we know on a daily basis or by heart. So apart from we tech people being willing to push this, there are also this movement coming from the user base. So a long time ago was kind of taboo, a bit of a taboo to do to do what we do with tech now is actually people, pressuring us to do this, which is great, and it requires much less education when we talk to them. So these are a couple of use cases that we have seen and built with a couple of our customers. Using a platform like Speed Legal, they managed to save a lot of time and money on outside counsel. They could extract key financial information 6 times faster and close the deals on specific purchase and sales contracts 3 times faster. Today, I'm going to try to make it practical and leave a lot of time and space for Q&A. I'll show you the platform and demonstrate how it works with a couple of contracts. They are NDAs and DPAs. So the contracts that we have reviewed in the past now 3-4 years are about 10, 12, which are purchase side and sales side contract. You see a list here. So we have enough data, to work on them, but we have fully released now, fully automated without human in the loop, just NDAs and DPAs. We have SaaS agreement and license on-prem coming up next week, if everything goes well with the final stages of the testing, and consulting agreements in 2 weeks. And then we are going to release a couple of others that we are in the process of testing into staging. So so the solution that you're going to see, the way we like to think is a 3-step solution. We believe that understanding contracts should be as easy as understanding the nutrition facts on the back of our food. That's why we call it contract nutrition label. The second part is understanding the risks and how to push back on specific provisions, and we call it red flag table. And the third part is understanding how to get out of the contract and when to get out of the contract. So this is something you can actually do yourself while I demo the product. Probably you can go on speedlegal.io, get access, and try it for free for a couple of contracts. So I've already uploaded a couple of contracts. It may take a couple of minutes, so I'm going to open a contract that I've already uploaded before. So the first thing that you see when you upload a contract is a total risk. We define the total risk in terms of red flags, missing criteria, and green flags compared to the market standard or to the internal playbook of the company. So we tell our users where are the risks in the contract and how to fix them. They can go on and accept our suggestions. If they want to create new variations of the text, they can do that by refreshing the suggestion. We also want to tell our users why is it relevant and important for them to accept a specific provision. And we like to do it in an easy way. So everyone should be able to understand why an exclusion is important. For example, here it's essential to define exception in the confidential information to prevent the obligation for being overly broad and so forth. So you can read it and understand a bit more why it's important to have exclusions defined in a contract. If the contract is missing some important concept, we suggest them, we call it missing criteria. So for example, mutuality, non-solicitation, and so forth, they will be added at the bottom of the contract. And once I'm ready, I can export the contract into a Word document. We tell our users this is fully AI generated, so use it at your own risk. And we always advise to consult with a qualified attorney. You can export the Word, and it's going to be a red line for you. So you can basically send it to the other party for review. You receive the new version, you upload it to Speed Legal, you do it again until you're ready to send it for signature. So this is what we've built in the last couple of months. This new platform. We have a couple of things coming up soon, which is talk to an expert, because we have people who want to talk to a human, and therefore we connect them to a qualified attorney. A signature, of course, is something we already have, and we just need to migrate to this new platform that we just released. But yeah, so this is pretty much what we've built. There's also a cool part, which is Ask Our AI, which is working to find a specific concept within the contract. And these are FAQ questions that we have prepared. Lawyers, our expert committee have prepared, and you should be asking yourself before starting the negotiation, or you should be asking to the lawyer before talking to them. You can ask your own question as well. This will avoid hallucination because we use the contract as a source of truth for the Q&A part. and each answer to this question is linked to the contract. So you'll be able to see where it comes from the sources. So this is an overview of quickly what we've built. Maybe in terms of yeah, I can answer the question later. Of course, happy to tell you more about the team and where we are in terms of product and development of the company. But I would say I keep it brief for now in terms of our demo and who we are, and open to your question, Roland, since
All
you
right.
last saw us when we pitched 3 years ago, I guess.
Great. Yeah, I think this is very cool. So first of all, because you go beyond just flagging issues, you actually propose language, and you make it easy for people to insert that language. And I appreciate that you. So I think that's already a great feature, and goes further than I've seen many other companies go. And it seems very, very useful. I understand your disclaimer, of course, that you're not giving legal advice, but there may just be, sort of a category of contracts that are sort of low enough risk that somebody who's not a legal professional, say like I said, business owner or CFO, who just wants to make sure that they're trying to, kind of optimize their position, make sure that they don't miss anything, for whom that may be super helpful. And you don't have to go through various email exchanges with lawyers and pay fees and so on. So anyway, so I think it's very cool. And I'm curious, what's the process you're following to open up a new contract area for yourself? I mean, how much human analysis are you doing of the different contract types? And how do you then inform the model of what you learn? And that's my first question. And then the second question is about the business model and where you are as a company.
Cool. Thank you, Ron. So in order to launch a new standard, so first of all, we have two standards. One is the one that we create with our expert committee of attorneys. And the process takes between 2 weeks and a month, depending on how much data we want to collect for that specific speed legal standard. And the complexity of the contract, like an MSA versus an NDA, is a different topic, right? So depending on the type of contract, I would say, and given the resources you put on the project, could be month, could be half. Right now we are about 10 people, so we are pretty small. But of course, the more human resources we allocate, the faster we can move. On the tech perspective, we need to validate that all the similarity scores and searches that we do to make sure that the concepts are matched are actually working. So all the RAG, the prompting, we're currently fine-tuning on open source models. So we need to, I would say probably overall is a month and a half with the tech team doing the tests, but less, of course, as we allocate more resources on the teams. I think I answered the first question, or not,
Yeah.
not fully.
Then I was curious, what is this, like a subscription based, or is this
Yeah,
can people pay by
absolutely.
document?
Right
And
now it's free, so we are giving access to people for free because we want to get feedback, and we want to get a lot of feedback, and we have seen good traction, of course, because people come back. We measure our metrics are how many people come back to upload more contracts more than just once, which is the most important thing, and which is growing, has been growing week over week. In terms of pricing model, we want to be a volume-based pricing, like Stripe. The more transactions, the more you pay. That's it. So you have one contract is $49. You have two contracts is $89. The more, the cheaper, of course.
got it. Okay, interesting. All right. So Robert's asking, are you able to align common terms in the legal data standards format proposed by Sally.org?
I know Sally and I know the founder. I forgot the name, um, but anyways, one of the founders. It's a great project, and I love what they're doing. Um, I'm not fully aware of the standard of Sally, to be transparent. I mean, I saw some of the data, which is great, but it's a question I can answer maybe offline or have someone in my team to help you with that. Yeah, good question.
All right, great. So Brad saying looks very thorough and helpful, and your system gives gives such specific advice. Do you have examples and cases to have confidence that your disclaimer will withstand an unhappy customer?
So the question is if we have disclaimers for unhappy customers.
Well, I suppose it's going back to the question of you disclaiming kind of giving legal advice, and you might still somebody might rely on your
Yeah,
algorithm and then be
it's a good
unhappy. And
question.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
it's good.
Brad, do you want to elaborate on your question? You can unmute yourself if you or write in the. Okay, I see. It says exactly. So, anyways,
Yeah,
yeah.
so to answer your question, we have three levels. The first level is disclaimer on every page and also before exporting the report. So we want to be very transparent. Second point, we are working to get a better insurance for, in case someone sue us and making sure that we are protected financially speaking as a company, because that could happen that someone is unhappy. And even if you don't have any liability, I mean, we are saying that we are, focused on the software and not doing any. We want to make sure that as a company of our stakeholders, we are also, covered on that aspect. And the third point, I would say, we are gonna add a service, which is something we're still brainstorming to help our users cover themselves if they want to cover themselves for potential liabilities on the contract. Because again, the best thing is to talk to a lawyer, which is something we already want to offer, as I said. So you can talk to a lawyer, and then you're going to be 100% at peace, and they have their own responsibilities, ethics to follow, which is great. Or you can maybe purchase an insurance on top of an asset, which is your contract. So that's something, a third level of product that we haven't really released, but something
Yeah,
we are thinking about. Yeah.
this is Brad. Thanks. That insurance idea is very interesting, and probably for yourself as well. I don't want to be a downer, but it seems like a hanging question.
Thank you, Brad.
Uh, and yeah, I've not heard. So I mean, obviously, big players like LegalZoom, years ago they had
Mm.
their which was kind of an insurance product, or they made a guarantee that okay, they will cover something if they get it wrong. Um,
How did it work? Was it
and
successful?
yeah, I mean, LegalZoom is still. I mean,
I
they
mean,
fought
the
many
product is still going, is still working,
Well,
that
I'd
product.
have to look it up actually, and there were some questions as to exactly what they were promising.
Mm.
Were they promising you that, I mean, they're filling out the form right, that they put the text in the right boxes in the form, if you use them, or would it go as far as like, covering you in the case that they tell you to fill out they send you in the wrong direction to the wrong form, right? So there was I remember vaguely there was some discussion around that, but that's a little while ago. But just there, it's the company that provided a sort of a guarantee to reassure the users. Um, I think it's also an interesting idea, for you for the users themselves to say like, look, okay, my contract may not be 100% correct, right? It's a reasonable business risk for me, but I'm willing to pay like an extra $20 on top, if there's an insurance that wants to
Yeah,
step in that case, and cover any
yeah, I
resulting
agree.
losses. But that's an interesting concept that I hadn't heard like that before in this legal tech context. So Samart is saying, do you have a competitive advantage over or differentiator over similar companies like Spellbook latch app or henchman, etc.
Yeah. Latch app. I know most of them, but Latch app is quite new. Can you type it so I add it to my list? Anyways,
Yeah, it's in a chat here, but yeah.
oh yeah, thank you. Cool. So I think the most important thing here, spellbooks. Well, I'll tell you how we're different. So market focus, and I would say the second point is try them, and try us, and you tell me because there are a lot of companies out there, and of course it's growing. But I always tell our investors and different, you know, friends and people, like just try it and let me know because a lot of people claim they do good things, but then eventually, once you have a good experience with these products, is when you fall in love. So um, again, Spellbook is doing great. They raise a lot of money. Their focus is a plugin for Word, and they focus on law firms. We're not focused on law firms. We're focused on SMBs and people. I mean, companies who don't have a legal team. So that's the biggest differentiator. Henchman, from what I remember, was doing a bit of contract management as well. So we're not really into the contract management, but again, I would say, just probably the work, the user flow, and the experience you have compared to each of them is different. I know some of them like DocSum, Pincites, of course, Harvey are those who I'm tracking also closely, and some of them they require some legal knowledge because you still need to, ask some questions, and some of them the results are still needed some human to understand. So again, we want to make it super easy, like a no-brainer, where you just grammarly accept or dismiss. Of course, there are risks. That's why we want to be very clear that you need to ask to, an expert before, making sure that you are okay with those changes. But at least we want to give information of what the software thinks, which is data on top of your contract.
Yeah. Well, so what I think is interesting too. So there's some players out there, and what you just said made me think of them. That are trying to target this, group of companies that don't have a legal department and can't really afford like expensive legal fees. And they give you a sort of a host of kind of legal documents or workflows for a specific area, right? Like, so for instance, if you're a startup, there's Clerky that worked with a Y Combinator, right? They got all the Y Combinator companies to use Clerky to take their standard incorporation documents and maybe some other related startup documents. And there was Shoebox, and they had a certain amount of customizability, but to a limited degree. But it's sort of their standard documents, and so to some degree, I think you were saying you're also creating sort of a set of standard documents which you think are sort of the best of breed documents, which will serve as your kind of retrieval augmented generation
pipeline. Yeah.
Access point really into the, but then you have a high level of kind of customizability and the ability to kind of check third-party contracts against your standards. So that seems like kind of a great step in this new era of Gen AI. There's also I think a trend in some areas towards like more let's just I don't know if you're familiar with bond terms, for instance, for SaaS agreements, which is really like just sort of a standard set of contracts, right? So you're trying to get the parties to converge in some areas to converge around what are sort of industry best practices, right? So you also reduce the need for negotiation and contract.
Correct.
And so that's like a little bit, there's different trends in different directions, but I think there will, for a long time, be a need for people to kind of, compare their bargaining preferences against each other and measure where they can negotiate. Yeah,
totally true. I agree with you.
So, anyways, so
sorry, a quick question. So yes, we have a 10 people legal team, Oriana, and my partner is the head of legal, of course. She has a JD, and she's Bart. So and our first check was a partner at Oric here in San Francisco. So we have lawyers and advisors continuously. Well, it's part. There is not there is not legal tech without legal. It would be just just some developers building something, which we were at the beginning, but that didn't make sense without partnering with lawyers. So it's a legal tech company. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay, so you answered Oriana's question. Katie asked about any UPL concerns. I think you mentioned already that you sort of like.
I mean, it's a big question, and the three-level answer is the same. Like disclaimers, education, and then insurance, and then offering to talk to a human and offering a protection if they want. I think that's the best way. But if you have other ideas, I'd love to double click on that.
And then Pamela was asking you, what is the criteria for risks that are flagged? Also, is there generative AI being used for generating suggestions?
Yes. So we use the generative part of the models to for sure generate some suggestions. We also use RAG, as I mentioned, so to find the right chunk within the contract and the concept within the contract. But yeah, for sure we use Gen AI for generating the suggestions. Yeah.
Can you remind me? So you have like the red flags and the green flags. What were the green flags again?
So the green flags are the matches with your standard. So not very useful to see. Maybe we can hide them because people focus on red flags and missing criteria, which are the things that are missing or need to be improved. The green flags are the good things that we found.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was the green.
No, the green flag is the good things, the match that we found compared to the standard. So
I see. Okay, I see. I got it. Okay. And Pamela also points out that she and Megan had a fireside chat that goes into some interesting points that may be interesting. So yeah, thanks for linking that up. So folks, check that out. And then Milva is asking what
LLM do we use?
LLM you
so
use.
To fine tune, we are testing Llama 2 and Mistral, and in production we're doing a RAG on top of GPT-4 because it's just simpler and faster. Of course, we don't store any data on the OpenAI end. We have a DPA signed with them, and data is not at rest. So just in we have a secure channel, and then when we touch their endpoints, the data is destroyed in the channel without storing anything on their side. So yeah,
so that allows you to go through the API to using ChatGPT. I mean GPT-4 without having to create your own instance of GPT, right? Which is like what some companies offering services to law firms are doing, right? Because of the data confidentiality concerns.
I'm not sure if I understood the question, but you can do it if you structure in a way. I mean, I think it offers it's an option you can have with them. It's not something that we created. If you have an enterprise business plan, you can opt. Of course, they say at least that they don't store the data. So we make sure that we just give them pieces, anonymized pieces of the contract. We don't give the entire contract. So we make sure that even if they break the rules, which they shouldn't, I guess, OpenAI, but they don't have access to the contract.
Okay, I got it. Okay, great. All right, super. So that was a very interesting conversation. And we're already at the end of our time, unfortunately. But if you could just put your contact information into the chat so that folks could follow up with you, that would be great. And yeah, Hans, thank you so much for the update. And
thank you, Roland.
Exciting and very cool to see what's coming up. And I would
yeah, give me feedback if you guys want to try it out. Again, it's still free for a couple of weeks, and I'd love to get your feedback, of course, on my email or whatever you can on the intercom within the app, just whatever you want.
Awesome. We'll take you
Thank
up.
you, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
All right, and thank you all for joining us. And yeah, please sign up for Future Law, which is coming up in a little bit more than a month. So hope to see you all there. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.